Hi, welcome, I'm Hannah, and this is going to be part one of my eyeshadow palette collection. I filmed all this a couple weeks ago now, I guess, and when I started editing it, I realized that it was too long to make one video, so I'm going to give you the first part today and part two tomorrow. So we're just going to switch over to my hands, and I will show you the first half of my eyeshadow palettes. I wanted to share with you my eyeshadow palette collection today. In my inventory, I found out that I have 46 eyeshadow palettes, and I pulled out most of them. I have a couple nostalgic palettes that I didn't pull out because I think I'm gonna do a whole separate video about my nostalgic makeup that I'm kind of like saving. But yeah, I just wanted to go through what I have, and while I do it, I wanted to write down how many shadows are in each palette because I'm very curious how many pans of eyeshadow that I have. So I'm going to count these up while I go through. I will take my own little peek at my nostalgic palette so I can add in those numbers. There's one that I could think of that I already decluttered, so I'll add that in. And if there's any unaccounted for that I might have decluttered at the beginning of the year and forgot about, I'll just take an average of the pans that I have from the other palettes and add that in for those missing palettes, if that makes sense. All right. Sorry if my angle's weird, still working on this overhead filming thing. Let's just dive right in. This is a small bite-sized palette from e.l.f. I had bought this and it was like the acai palette, it was like a lavender one. The acai palette I actually decluttered I think last year because I wasn't crazy about the formula. I know people rave about these, and I know this is a point that I believe Angelica Nyquist mentioned, that something could be good for the money but not necessarily good, and I think that's definitely my impression of these, is that for $3, awesome. You can't beat it for $3, but they're just not the same quality as the indie shadows that I love or some higher quality things. Even BH Cosmetics, they're cheap too and I like them more, but it is more than $3. So this one actually, my friend who texted me recently and said she wants to get into some makeup, we were looking at the e.l.f. website together and I was giving her some recommendations and she was like, ooh, the hot jalapeno one I kind of like, and I was like, I think I have that and I can give that to you. So I'm going to put this to the side and give that to her. Next up I have this Natasha Denona one. This is the mini nude palette. When I purchased this, it said on the Sephora website that it was vegan, and I'm kind of confused by the whole thing because I bought it because of that, but on all of the vegan lists I found on the internet it says Natasha Denona doesn't have any completely vegan eyeshadow palettes, but then this one, it doesn't have carmine listed in the ingredients, so I'm just kind of not sure about that. Maybe this one's discontinued and that's why, I'm not sure. I purely bought this because I wanted to try the Natasha Denona formula. I like this, it's good, but I'm just not really into neutral, so I don't use it that often, but sometimes it is handy to keep as a companion palette when I just need, you know, a nice transition shade or a nice deepening shade. This is the e.l.f. J Kissa palette. This was their first collab. I really like this. I used this traveling a couple times, and then you may not have heard, but we've been in a pandemic for about a year now, and I haven't taken it traveling. I'm kind of mad at myself because my initial impression of it was that this is so good for traveling, I want to save it for traveling, and that's such like a bad way to look at anything because meanwhile this has just been like sitting around unused. So I do want to try to give it some more love, but I regret not giving it the love that it deserves when it was new and fresh and I was super excited about it. But I do really like it because most small palettes have like a very neutral color story, and I find with this one I can make bold looks, but I can also make something more neutral, like using these three colors. I can add in one of these, I can do just like a purple look, I can do just a more yellowy green look. There's so many possibilities that you wouldn't expect to have from so few pans. These two, this is a Colored Rain palette. It is the Vineyard Soiree palette, and this is the Wet n Wild Plaid to the Bone palette. These are both small palettes that I never use. In fact, I think I've never used this Colored Rain one. Someone had given it to me when they were kind of getting rid of a bunch of makeup and I took it. This one I got a couple years ago, and it's been hard to get rid of because these two shades, I'm gonna try to not swatch too much because we got a lot to cover, but these two shades are so good. But I have such a big collection and I never wear these, and I think that my friend who's just getting into makeup might really enjoy both of these palettes, so these two I'm going to pass on to her. This video isn't really meant to be declutter, but I've just been kind of thinking about these, so this is a good time to mention that. I have these two Huda Beauty palettes that I bought when they first came out. I had emailed the company and got confirmation that they were vegan. I know Huda Beauty is kind of like a weird topic in the cruelty-free community. I know there's a lot of people who, despite the fact that they have some cruelty-free certifications, don't consider them cruelty-free because they sell or have sold mink eyelashes. My feeling on that is that mink eyelashes is a non-vegan ingredient, and non-vegan ingredients are used by a lot of brands that are cruelty-free. I think cruelty-free purely correlates to whether or not they lab test on animals or allow certain countries to lab test on animals. But I think if we were going to consider brands that use a non-vegan ingredient to not be cruelty-free, then that means that Colourpop isn't, Urban Decay isn't, Tarte isn't, BH Cosmetics isn't, Too Faced isn't. By that logic, any brand that's not completely vegan would also not be cruelty-free. So, I don't know, I just don't agree with that. I know it can be controversial, but I mean, honestly, it has kind of made me less excited about using these because I would never want to post about these and then have an issue. But this is the Mauve Obsessions. This one is really nice. I don't really wear it that much because you only get like really one look out of it. But I don't know, this is something that I probably will end up decluttering eventually, but I'm just not ready to yet. This Electric Obsessions though, I really like it. This is a good travel colorful palette because it has like a big range. I feel like this and like a small neutral palette and you're good to go. This teal down here I'm crazy about. Overall the formula is really good and I really like these. I can't remember how I counted this. I feel like I wouldn't have counted it as a palette, but if I'm not reaching the number of palettes that I had counted at the beginning of the year, which was 46, I will count it. This is just 2 shades from Manic Panic. Did anyone even know Manic Panic made eyeshadow? I got this on sale at Hot Topic. I think it was $3. It doesn't have a tag on it anymore, but it's cruelty-free and vegan, and I always really like the formula of these. And they are right over my cat scratch. Sorry, I'm gross. But it's like a really nice formula, and came with a little brush. It is like half a sponge tip. Who needs that? That half like a brush tip. They are magnetic pans, so they could pop out, but I really like this little cassette. I don't know. I don't have any plans of getting rid of this, but yeah, I'm going to hold off on counting this until I see how many other palettes I have. This is the Colourpop Aura and Out palette. I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with this. I had bought this and the other vegan pastel palette they came out with right after they opened up shop again. But the one that they sent me originally, it took me a little while to realize, but instead of this more mustardy color, it was a duplicate of Fresh Cut. So I emailed them and they sent me this new palette, but I'd already been using them and I kind of felt like, do I really want to wreck this whole palette just so I can replace that one color? I don't know. I might just do it and like stop overthinking it. But I'm like, also I could give this away to someone, but I could pop out the one color and then give it away to someone. I don't know. This has just been sitting there in the packaging and I gotta decide what I want to do with it. This palette is so old. This is Temporary Solutions from Wet n Wild. I picked this up on a whim at CVS in like 2015, and this was my one colorful palette for a long time, and that really served me very well. I was mostly wearing neutral colors, but this worked out so well when I just wanted like a pop on the lower lash line. I just wanted to add something in. You could see I have a pretty good pan on that yellow. I really use this a lot. I really enjoyed it. I would recommend to anyone that's getting into color to find like a small rainbow palette, because I can imagine that would serve you well, as this one did. And this one is staying in my collection because it still has a special place in my heart. This is the BH Cosmetics Royal Affair palette. This to me is like a perfect neutral palette. I really like this. I love the variety of shades, the variety of browns, the variety of cool and warm tones. I like that there's a couple more punchy colors like this green. There's this iridescent blue perfect inner corner shade. There's a couple berries, this pink, this olive. It's so good. I love it. I'm so sad that they stopped making it. They have this and another palette that I'll get to by BH Cosmetics that like I would wholeheartedly recommend. The formula is amazing, and yeah, as I said, it's like the perfect funky neutral palette You can make a green look, you can make a berry look, you can make a cool look, you can make a warm look, you can make like a gray look. It's so good. The Juvia's Place Taupes palette. I filmed a video a couple weeks ago trying this one out and I wasn't very impressed. I think I am going to do another video sometime soon where I try to dupe it out with my single shadow collection. So I'm going to keep it around for that, but I don't think this is going to stay in my collection long term because I didn't have a good experience with the formula. The colors aren't really my thing. Just doesn't really do it for me. This is the BH Cosmetics and Daisy Marquez palette. I have never followed her, but I just really liked the color story when it came out. The lid completely comes off. I guess the idea is that you set it up in here to be like a little vanity, but like, I wouldn't do that. It's dumb. The mirror is not great quality. I never use mirrors and palettes anyway, so it's fine. It's not like I mind that, but it just makes this feel like so dinky. So I don't know, I've had many mixed feelings. I do really like the color story. The reason I was so drawn to it, because I love the mixture of neutrals and brighter colors. I love all the shimmers. I like the formula on this. I'm not sure, it doesn't excite me, but then like I look at it and I like it, and then I make a look with it and I like it. So I don't know, maybe I'll try to dupe this out eventually also, but for right now it is staying in my collection. Another BH Cosmetics, this is the Carly Bible Deluxe Edition. I did have the original one also, but I sold it after this one came out. Years ago at my job, this was like my go-to palette. I would use like this mauve in my crease and put this berry, and then I would take you know, any one of the shimmers and put it in. This is such a nice neutral palette, so I'm not sure. Even though I don't use it that often now, I still do like it. For this one, it has these face powders in it that, you know, occasionally I'll use when I'm using this palette, but for the purposes of this, I'm just going to count this as 15 pans. And I don't have those face colors counted as anything. They're kind of just like no man's land. This is the e.l.f. Opposites Attract palette. This I was so excited to get when they came out with it. It was like their first larger palette. People were raving about the formula. I think it's good, but it just doesn't excite me. It's just not as good as my other things. This was another one that I want to try to dupe out sometime. I no longer support Jeffree Star. I don't buy any of his products anymore, but I do have a couple already in my collection. This is the Alien palette, and I do like this one. It has greens, it has grays, it has some browns. I like the formula on this. I think his formula definitely did go downhill. I had the, is it called the Royal Blood palette, the purple one? I have some of those shades depotted, but I depotted the palette because, I mean, the packaging was like velvet and everything stuck to it and it was super bulky, but also a lot of the shadows in that were just total crap. And it's interesting because I feel like the one redeeming thing for him has always been like his makeup quality is good, but based on that palette and based on what I've heard about palettes since, it seems like it's really gone downhill. But this palette, I really like. When I make looks with it, I really do like it. So the packaging is bulky and annoying also, but I'm gonna keep it around. This is the Kesha Rose palette. This packaging I love. I think this is so pretty. I have a whole review on this from when I first got it like a year and a half ago or something. That video, I actually promised that I would do like a 3 or a 5 looks with it. I filmed a couple of them before I stopped filming for a long time. I still have that footage. I'm thinking I might put it up sometime. I don't know. I really, really liked this when I first got it, but I tried it recently and it just didn't seem as amazing as I originally thought it was. But at the same time, like, I don't want to declutter this because I really like it. You know, I like the experience of having it. I like the little weird tassel. I love this foil. I love that this is velvet, the colors, it's so pretty. So yeah, kind of disappointing they didn't come out with something else. They really gave the impression when this came out that it was going to be like the start of her line, but now it really just seems like it was like a Hip Dot collab. That was also the first time I heard about Hip Dot. I think if this happened now, I might be more skeptical and think of it more as a collab, but I thought it was kind of like, you know, Hip Dot was just like a makeup producer that was producing her makeup. This is the Venus 2 palette. I had bought this in a bundle with the first one many years ago. I still have the first one downstairs. I know it's in a bag of clothes because I've been deciding what I want to do with it. So I'm going to count both of them, but I'm not going to show you that first one today. This one I really liked. This was like my only like periwinkle blue for so long, and I do have others now, but I don't know, I just like this palette. It's like such like a cool little grungy color story. The first one, I'm probably decluttering it soon or eventually, just because it's a very one-dimensional pink look and I have so many other shadows that I can get that with. But this, I do find the color story to be kind of like inspirational and fun. This is the Sugar Pill Fun Size palette. This one I do have to like prioritize sometime. Maybe I'll try to make a video where I make a couple different looks with it. I think it's so pretty, it's so cute, I like it. I've barely used it though. I think any of these colors would be so pretty as a single shadow look. I think there's so much that can be done with this palette. Since I bought this, I've really been prioritizing using my single shadows. So something like this, that's also kind of like small and out of the way and I'm not constantly thinking about it. It has been left behind, but I want to change that because it's so goddamn cute. I have the Honey and the Orange You Glad palettes from Colourpop. I had popped these out when I first got them and I had them in my single shadows, but I realized I just really liked the color stories of them on their own. This yellow palette is like my perfect neutral palette. It creates a look that's not too bold, too wearable, but it's something more fun than just having like regular old browns. The quality of these shimmers are so good. I could use a deeper brown in this. That's probably my one concern, but that's easy enough for me to incorporate my own deep brown when I use this to create a look. Same thing with the Orange You Glad story. I just think it creates such a pretty look, and this one I think is a little bit more dimensional than the yellow one is, because you can have a lighter look, you can have like a more neon look. Super pretty. I love both of these. This is the Afrique palette from Juvia's Place. This one I really wanted because of this light shimmer color. And it's not usually the thing that would draw me into a palette, but it just looked like the most amazing. Even touching it, I'm like, oof, I love it. That color did really live up to its expectations. The one thing about it that didn't live up to its expectations is that I don't use it every day, but I could. I really like it. I like the colors in this too. I remember a while ago I was looking at all of my palettes and thinking about the color that I liked least, and it was this one, and then I ended up making a look with it that's actually, I posted that like throwback declutter video. That was when I had made a look with this color and this palette, and I'm obsessed with that look. I need to use this more. It's such a nice palette. The shimmers are awesome. The mattes are awesome. Doesn't get enough use, but it's so good. So that was part 1 of my eyeshadow palette collection. Again, part 2 is going to be up tomorrow. I've been making a lot of videos about indie shadows, but I do have all these palettes too, and I feel like I want to make some kind of like throwback eyeshadow palette appreciation videos. If you'd be interested in something like that, or if there's specific ones you would like to see looks with or swatches of, let me know. I'd be really interested in that. Also, please like and subscribe so you'll be able to see the video I post tomorrow, and a lot more makeup and eyeshadow and using what I have type of content. And that's everything. Thanks for watching. Bye.